I just can't. There's no way Houston can talk themselves. Please don't overthink this. Just take Bryce Young. Please don't overthink this. I swear, if they do anything stupid like take Anthony Richardson over Bryce Young,
I'll tell you what. I've told you this before. I only really read 2 or 3 guys in the draft media, not for anything personal reasons. I just don't like to get too much. And one of them is Lance Zierlein from NFL.com. Have a lot of respect for him. I've spoken to him several times. He's just one of the few guys that I really feel like he does the work. Like he is knee deep and I would say neck deep in tape at all times. And he's very connected to the Houston organization. I think that's his full-time gig. He's on the radio down there. He might do color for Houston, Texas on TV or radio, but don't quote me on that. No matter what, he's connected. And he just put out a mock draft out there, and he had them passing on quarterback at 2 and then trading up later on for Will Levis. And, I think it was like trading back into the top 10 and just, getting Will Anderson with this number 2 pick and then saying like, hey, we'll take one of the other quarterbacks, via trade in the top 10. I mean, was it something? I know Lance is not the kind of guy that does things for clicks, and he's been right about Houston several times. So that's just something to keep. Like, I agree with you, Greg. Take Bryce Young and make it work. The only thing that you don't like about Bryce, it's one thing. It's his size.
If he's that good, it's not going to matter.
Everything else is there. So I think if they don't take him, I will agree with you. It will be because just paralysis by analysis. They thought about this for too long. This is a pretty easy decision for me to take him.
And look, I tell you the truth. Look, if they decide to pass on Bryce Young and take Anderson, I would be okay with that as long as the decision is we're taking our quarterback next year. Do not take Will Levis. Do not do that. That would be, you're just ruining draft capital that you could use it because you could just take Anderson. If you want to move down a couple of spots and take Anderson, fine, you get another pick, but don't trade back up to get Levis. Just use those picks on other players.
That's the kind of decision that gets you fired.
It should be. Now, look, Caserio has been extremely active. Good for him. He's had to be active. And I actually like what he's done so far this offseason. To get Dalton Schultz, Jimmy Ward, and who was the other guy that he brought? He brought in Singletary, Shaq Mason trade.
This reminds me of? Yep. Know what this reminds me of, though? This reminds me of a team. This reminds me of like a Patriots offense from the early 2000s without Tom Brady. It's slow, right? It's some crafty veterans. Like, look at the receivers that they're working with. Nico Collins, Noah Brown, Robert Woods, and then at tight end, Dalton Schultz. Good players, don't get me wrong. There is no speed on this
They need Mechie. They need Mechie to come back. And
I hope he does. It would be a great story to see him come back. But even he wasn't the most explosive. He's more of a change of direction, Sutton type guy. And, this team is just starving for speed. And, that's something that's one thing I've noticed with Caserio is he really is following the New England template.
You know what? Draft Bryce Young. Then maybe you'll have your Tom Brady.
Yes, exactly. Your gamer, your guy that you want. Like, that's one question we've talked about this before when you talk about stacking these quarterbacks, right? If your life relied on one of these quarterbacks leading you to a fourth quarter comeback, which one are you taking? And like that to me is like when you ask yourself that question, it's an easy answer at that point.
Because CJ Stroud has done it just once. And by the way, there are a lot of Ohio State fans who were not happy about that because they were like, oh, wait a second. So let me get this straight. Now you're starting to play like the quarterback we were waiting for you to play like the last couple of years. Like now when everybody's watching and, last game. So I can understand why they're upset about it. But that's also something I would be a little bit – should I be a little bit concerned about that when I'm thinking about C.J. Stroud? I don't know. Is it about – but I'm not. I'd still take him number 1 if I'm Carolina. But as far as Bryce Young, we're in agreement, man. He did it every time he was on the field. And it wasn't like they had the greatest Alabama teams either. They had really good teams, but
you're right.
They could have been better. He didn't win a championship. It wasn't because of him. They would have won the championship 2 years ago if the 2 receivers didn't get hurt.
All right, I agree.
If Mechie and Williams don't go down. Okay. So let's see on offense. Yeah, they need a speed receiver. I think we agree with that. They're set now at running back. They don't have to worry about that. They're set at tight end. Don't have to worry about that. Offensive line. Now they got to hope the Kenyon Green move wasn't as bad as it looked last year, but they definitely need a center. I think if they draft a center, to tell you the truth, I think they're offensively. They can get a speed guy anywhere. They can even get like a Tank Dell if he run. How fast did he run, by the way, Tank Dell?
I think he was in the low 4.4s.
Okay, so let's say you get a Tank Dell in the third round, second. Yeah, somebody might draft him early, but let's say you get him in the third. Get a guy like that. Get a center. You're done on offense. You got Bryce Young. Yeah. You're done. You don't have to worry about offense this offseason. The rest of it really comes to defense. And I think the Jimmy Ward move was a really good move because I think that gives you an opportunity to maybe go another offseason where you don't need to worry too much about the secondary.
Yeah. Yeah, and you get another year of seeing what Derek Stingley is. I think Steven Nelson can hold the fort on the other side. Like most teams, they don't have a ton of depth at corner, so I think that's a move. But, I'm looking at the edge group. Even though I like Grenard, who unfortunately suffered a calf injury last year, and he was ascending last year when he got hurt. Jerry Hughes, starting to turn into like an ageless wonder. Led the team with 9 sacks last year. But again,
can't count on that. Yeah.
It's not going to carry you very far. They brought in Rankins. They brought in Winovich. Like there are guys there.
But they need another edge rusher. Yeah.
I would love to see another edge rusher. And even if it's with, yes, get Bryce Young. Let's just, consider that what we both agree on at number 2. But that second pick, that's an area where I could see a Miles Murphy coming in and just being a really, really solid addition that you're not going to throw a full slate of snaps week to week at.
Agreed.
But in 2024, he's ready to rock.
That's an easy pick, right? Is edge rusher early top of the second round. You'll be able to get a good one.
Yeah. Oh, you might, honestly, other than Will Anderson, you might get your number 2 edge rusher at that spot. And that's a great way to just build this roster. You get your quarterback, you get your premier pass rusher, and you go from there.
And maybe in a third round, you can grab a center.
Yeah, I know who I love, and this would be at the top of the second round. And this is a little bit of a hedge because, again, like you said, you have to give Kenyon Green year 2, just like the Giants need to give Evan Neal year 2. Like they both did not play well in the rookie year, but that's okay. Offensive linemen develop at different rates. But Steve Avila from TCU, who's a guard with center experience. You get him in here, let him compete for the starting center job. If he doesn't win it, you have someone waiting in the wings behind Kenyon Green at left guard. And if he, plays the first half of the season and bottoms out again, that's a spot that if you are going to draft a Bryce Young, I do think it transforms how you build the rest of the roster. You don't want this guy getting hit, period. I know every team will say that about their quarterback, but part of what makes Josh Allen is he can take hits. He'll get back up. Bryce Young, you don't know if this guy's getting back up if a 330-pound defensive tackle falls on top of him. Yeah. It's going to be your fear every single time you get in contact with someone. So, I think that's a move that every time I start looking at where I think some of these interior offensive linemen go, that's a match made in heaven for me. Is Steve Avila, you get a guard that has some center experience, or you get a center that can shift over to guard if need be. So I think that's the number 1 move for this team is get another interior offensive lineman.
What I would do that, but what I would also do is, and I don't know what his decision is going to be on, but I would really try to, like they did with Rankins. They basically stole Rankins away from the Jets because the Jets could not pay what Houston gave Rankins for the 1 year. Rankins was probably like, remember that? Did you ever see the movie Heaven Can Wait?
Yeah.
Okay. Remember, when he buys the team and the owner's standing there and the assistant's like, what kind of leverage did he put on you? He goes, I asked for $40 million, whatever it was, and he gave, I offered $70 million or something, and he said yes. Oh, that bastard! That's like the thing with the center position. That's what happened with Rankins. Is like that, I asked them for $14 million and they gave it to me. So I have to leave a potential Super Bowl caliber team to go to Houston for a year.
I know.
But I would do the same thing with Ben Jones. Okay, because I don't know what Ben Jones is like. You know what? I'm at the twilight of my career. I'm still playing really good football. I need to go somewhere where I can win a Super Bowl. If that's it, fine. You can't get him. But if he's just looking for his best, because I don't want to put a young center with a young green. Even though Mason's there, that's still two young guys in the middle with the young quarterback. I think I need a veteran center, and then go after a Villa.
That's a smart move. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it too. Especially with a young quarterback too. You're putting potentially a young center with a young green at left guard with a rookie quarterback beneath you. Like that's a dangerous way of doing things.
Yeah,
I agree.
They got to find another center. And again, it doesn't have to be Ben Jones, but a veteran.